South Africa's Workers' Unions Federation, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, or COSATU, has welcomed a new gazette empowering labour inspectors to enforce pension fund payment compliance. The law targets employers who could deduct contributions from workers' salaries but fail to pay them. Authorities say over 15,000 employers defaulted last year, affecting 600,000 workers. The security sector, municipalities, and the automotive industry are key offenders. To discuss this, we're joined now by Matthew Parks. He's Congress of South African Trade Unions parliamentary leader. Matthew, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Compliments.
Our pleasure. Let's talk firstly about the importance of labour inspectors. In other parts of the continent, this might not even be a thing. What role do they play in compliance issues?
Well, basically, they go to all workplaces to check is the employer complying with our labor laws, whether it's overtime pay, whether it's health and safety conditions, whether it's the rights to paid leave, and to make sure they comply with it. If they don't, they issue compliance orders where the employer has to correct the situation, has to abide by labor laws. And also, they make sure the workers' rights are protected at all times. So, for us, it's quite a useful thing because not all workers are unionized. Only about a quarter of South African workers belong to trade unions. So you have about three-quarters who are quite vulnerable. So they've been quite useful, and they've often targeted sectors which are high risk in terms of abusing labor rights. We know certain sectors are fairly well organized and protected, but there are certain sectors which are known for abuse of workers' rights. And so we have labor inspectors who go and inspect workplaces and to really make sure that workers' rights as put out in law are felt on the ground by these workers, especially the most vulnerable.
So, brief us then on the provisions in this new gazette and how different is it from previous ones?
So this is something that we had negotiated as COSATU as organized labor at NEDLAC, our social dialogue statutory body, where government business and labor come and discuss labor laws, labor rights, socio-economic policy, and so forth, the economy. We have a problem with many employers not honoring their pension fund contributions to their employees. Many of them actually just take the money from the workers, claim they've paid it through, and then actually pocket the money, which is basically theft. And it's become a growing problem. We've seen the number of employers not paying pension funds double in the last 2 years. It tends to be in certain sectors like municipalities, security sector, cleaning, and so forth. The new gazette by the Minister of Labour now requires the labour inspectors when they go to workplaces to check is the employer in compliance with the maternity leave laws or overtime pay, etc. Also check are they paying the pension fund contributions. So that's a useful thing because you can't be in every single workplace. So it's useful when the inspectors go to the workplace, they also add this to the to-do list. We think that's going to help boost it. And also because we have the reports indicating which sectors are notoriously far behind in terms of these contributions, we know where to go. We know the fact that the name of the actual companies, we have the lists. Um, Also, what's helpful is that we have normally about 2,000 labor inspectors, which is not enough for an economy of about 17 million workers. But last year, the Department of Labor hired an additional 10,000 labor inspectors, and there's a plan to hire further 10,000 this year. So that's really going to be a huge boost to making sure that we can check more workplaces and we can make sure that more workplaces comply. So I think for us, this is critical because if we don't do it, it will lead to a situation where workers, when they retire from, they have no retirement savings because the employer has stolen it. And you can imagine that if you are reaching retirement after having worked for 40 years, to find out your employer has stolen the money, that can lead to a very big problem. You will be in poverty, but you can also imagine you would go to your workplace and there'll be a physical confrontation as well. So I think for us, we need to get this thing sorted out before it continues.
In a case then where employers do not adhere to the regulations, does the new gazette provide for punitive measures as well, or that goes to a different jurisdiction?
It does. So the labor inspector has the right to issue compliance orders where the employer is required to fulfill whatever obligations that were set out in that order. They're given, 30 days to correct the situation and so forth, whatever the time frame might be. If they don't do so, the Department of Labor can prosecute them, and they have prosecuted many. Most employers do immediately then comply, which is a positive thing. But also we're encouraging the Department of Labor to do more prosecutions, because we also need to send a message to employees who misbehave that there will be consequences. And we've seen over the past year, the Department of Labor has been increasingly raiding high risk sectors and arresting people who break the law. We had an employer from China last year prosecuted for human trafficking. So this is the kind of aggressive approach which we need, because right now we have good laws on paper, beautiful laws, but when it comes to vulnerable workers, feeling them often is two different worlds. And so I think for us, enforcing them and ramping up the raids is a very important way to try to improve it.
We mentioned in our introduction that the security sector, some municipalities, and the automotive industries are the biggest offenders. Why is that?
I'm not. I mean, look, the cleaning sector, I understand, because those are very vulnerable workers. There's a lot of casualization, short-term work there, and these workers have low education. Very few are unionized. Security sector is a bit of an irony, because that sector is meant to be held to a higher standard, so to speak, because they provide security to workplaces, to shopping centers, to other facilities. And it's ironic that so many of the security companies themselves are breaking the law. That's quite ironic. We're not sure why. A lot of those workers, again, tend to have a low education and so forth. Many of them not organized and so on. So again, it speaks to the issue of vulnerability. Municipalities is a slightly different issue. Often there, it's simply because the municipality has been mismanaged, is running low on money, and then when they try to make ends meet, so to speak, they pickpocket the employees. They think, well, you're only going to retire in 20 years. You won't notice if we don't pay now. We'll pay it later. The problem there is that you deny that worker that interest that he was meant to have accumulated by the time they reach retirement, and also makes it very difficult for the pension funds, because what often happens is that the municipality doesn't pay for a year or so, then they make one lump sum payment and they don't indicate what is going where. But it's a mixture of issues, but it is a crisis, and it is going to explode unless we deal with it soon.
Right. Matthew, thank you. We'll leave it there for today. We always appreciate your insights on these labor related matters on Channel Africa, and compliments for 2026 to you.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. That's Matthew Parks. He's Congress of South African Trade Unions parliamentary leader.
Es-tu préoccupé par